Alright everybody, it's our Klaus here, and before I can get into this video today, I feel inclined to reiterate, I guess, the nature of this work and why it's so important that you pay attention to concepts that I bring up, because first of all, nobody else is really talking about them, and second of all, they very quickly become parts of the public conversation soon after I bring them up. For example, in looking at this idea of law and order, and for those of you not tuned into things, I've been bringing this up as far back as the Pez theory in connection with this film, The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, as well as connection to the Pilgrim Society, The Simpsons, and as of late, Donald John Trump. Now, do remember on July 11th, that's right, this month, just a couple weeks ago, that Donald Trump said he was the law and order candidate on the 114th anniversary of the Pilgrim Society, again an immensely influential offshoot of the Skull and Bones Society that runs various banks, educational organizations, elite people are drawn to this group. And you have to understand that since these are the people who run the organizations that something like Skull and Bones exists in, that it is degrees above it in ways. And especially when you think of all of the attention given to Skull and Bones. Look here, look here, look here, and with the other hand, you are killed. And that is exactly what happens here. But so getting back into this idea of law and order, coming up back, let's take you back really quick to the Pez theory. And again, it's a 3.5 hour long video. I split it up into 5 parts for you. And I told you in this video that it would be more or less an all-encompassing outline for things to come. Because not only did it miraculously sum up months of research I had put in, but as I have shown you in the videos since, it has been a true key guide stone in pushing things along. But so again, look through all of this here and see the importance in that, but let's hone in a little more on this law and order. You can see on the right side of your screen I have a few concepts pulled up for you. But if we go and we look at Trump's actual acceptance speech for the Republican candidacy to run for president, you notice here this article from the New York Times that he said law and order 4 times. And before we get into it, let's take a look here so that you can see that it was clocked in at 1 hour and 15 minutes according to this New York Times article, which, as with most of the web pages I try to view, this is why I have to do all the screenshots. This is why we cannot do any of the videos while on the internet and going through things. This is why my channel is taken down in the past. This is why videos on this channel have been flagged that were showing you dates that ended up being very important. Is because they know that I know. Now, take a look back here though. Let's reiterate a few things. First of all, the fact that the speech being 1 hour and 15 minutes as seen here, 1:15, that is the same simple value for law and order. Alright, it's also the same value as a new world. Okay, its Jewish value is the same as zesties. This is incredible. Alright, and look at all of this. Freemasons, rest in peace, blood work, all of these massive concepts that we've talked about at length coming up in here. Now, notice as well that it said that he said law and order 4 times. And remember that the 4th tarot card is the Emperor. The representation of limitation, government, the restriction of law, not only social law but physical law. Alright, the restrictions put forward by the number 4, the number of points on the cross. Alright, it is a destructive force almost in and of itself because of its restrictive nature. Okay, and do remember, looking on the right side of your screen here and breaking down this phrase, education is the basis of law and order. Okay, and education being a key component in there, law and order. Just remember how you have to break these down. Now notice here as well, I have listed out some other things that I was talking about that no one else was on, and now they're important. Ice cream, these dates of May 14th and June 11th. Remember, even looking at this, education is the basis of law and order, that Jewish value is the same as the wait is over, which was the show, was the ad for the show with Erykah Badu and Ricky Smiley on June 11th at the theater. Okay, on and on and on. All of these dates, go watch the videos, there's so much more. Now, what I really want to tap into today is the fact that my last set of videos here for Lana Del Rey, I put out on July 13th, stating that I felt that that was the crowning jewel in a lot of ways to all of this research that I've been presenting to you. And of course, the very first video here, beginning with the Luciano Pavarotti rendition of La Visti Duaba. But I want to talk about how in those videos I was emphasizing the song Salvatore and High by the Beach and a lot of other things, but primarily Salvatore, a song I've been looking at since last year on my channel that was banned. And we're going to talk about how it just so happened to be premiered that night by fan request during her show in Montreal, Switzerland. The odds of that. Now, if you go and watch the video of that, you will see that she appears to be lip syncing, but I want to talk about lip sync today. And as we get into it, I'm going to really reiterate why. Now, obviously, this is something we're all familiar with. We've seen tons of celebrities, accused of it, careers dismantled over it, public shaming, this and that. And we've also seen people such as Beyonce be able to do it time and time again and have it really in no way affect her professional career or the way that the fans view her. So now, obviously, that's very interesting to me. And since we're talking about Beyonce, some of you might see where I'm going with this, and we're going to start with this lip sync battle. Alright, now this is a weird show put on by LL Cool J. I do want you to see here, and there is a reason that I use Wikipedia. Again, more people come here for information than anywhere else, and so it is really not a reach to say that this is highly controlled, monitored information. I've shown you critical things taken off of this over time, but it is a very important resource, and anybody being critical over it, I would say it's just as relevant as a CNN or ABC article, because again, if you read their terms and conditions, it tells you that they are in no way accountable for the validity of the information, and that first and foremost that their main purpose is to be entertainment. So really, again, when you're sitting there furling your brows at resources I use, you're wasting energy. Now, notice here, just of all the times they could flag this, they say as of July 3rd this year, there's 39 episodes to this, so it's just very interesting. The other big show we've been talking about this year is Celebrity Deathmatch, which just so happens to have the invert of that, the 93, the master thelemic number. And do remember my video discussing that being banned, and the very interesting just notion that only part 1 was banned and not part 2. And so, again, a clear hail. This was discussing at length the June 11th incident that I was certain would shake things up. And so in any case, let's keep moving here though. Getting back to lip sync battle, do notice here you see it coded with these ideas of event, the planet Saturn, again, Satan. You see an inside job, reference to Barack Hussein Obama confirmed, and the monsters of the mind. Now, this is terrifying in a lot of ways. For anybody who's seen the film Jacob's Ladder, you might be 100% ahead of me in seeing where I'm going with that. And again, remembering in that movie, there is the very interesting scene where he happens to be standing in front of room 119 as he is running from the monsters in his mind. Now, look at this last bit here. Our foreheads shall be sealed. Okay, so very interesting. Now, take a look here at the English in simple values. And look at all of the things that we've already looked into that it shares value with. Lizzie Grant, remember Lana Del Rey's nickname. Myesha So Long. Get up with it. Remember, this is the album that Myesha So Long was based on, right? Or that they got the original samples from, this original Miles Davis album that was actually released November 22nd. 11 years after Kennedy was assassinated. And so if I can pull it up for you here, I think I actually had it all. So there's that for you. It's 11 years in one day, that triple one. All right, and so again, look at all of the information that I've presented to you, really hammering this out. All right, and so it goes on and on and on, metaphorically. Solve et coagula. All right, all of these things. This is from the Myesha So Long video, the right eye, the last trumpet. Again, mirroring this High by the Beach from Lana Del Rey. Remember the 666, 111 values for that. Here's the Solve Coagula for you. This is the Tree of Life and Death, which is absolutely referenced in this lip sync battle. Now notice as well you do get references to tarot card reading as well as that 553. Remember, seen as 55 times 3, giving us that 165. And do remember I was talking about at length that symbol of 165 being the same as I came to slay bitch, ransom stoddard, prank phone calls, all of these massively critical pieces to the puzzle, alright? Remember, prank phone calls, it's Ricky Smiley's bit. He was the guy playing with her June 11th at the theater. Education. Look at all of these points here. United Nations, 22. Last Trumpet, 729. All right, this big date, just 2 days away from today. And I am so very curious to see what happens. All right, I'm not saying it's going to be the end of the world on that day. I'm simply saying that based on my research, it seems like something very important is going to come about this day, possibly something exceptionally game-changing. Now do notice over here, back on the left for lip sync battle, the very last thing that comes up is Hugh Stevens. Now remember, it was on his BBC program that Lizzie Grant, right, Lana Del Rey, debuted her Salvatore song. And so there's immense importance to that, absolutely. Now again, looking through all of these things, the references to the dog, and we'll get into that later, from The Dog Has Fleas, and even in her song 24. But again, all of these things we've discussed in the past, you can go and watch any of my videos and see a huge expansion on those numbers. So now getting back to Beyonce here, notice that she made an appearance on this show on January 7th, the 7th day of the year. Remember, we've been tying her immensely to this number, the number of points on the Seal of Babylon, so on and so forth. Her big tour right now is her 7th major world tour, and it really is a grand architect number that we've been keyed into. Again, the G of Freemasonry, the 7 that is in the middle of their logo. All right, now again, on this show, she performs the song Run the World, Girls with Channing Tatum. Now, Channing Tatum has the same values as Order of Thelema, 777, and even this idea of Chauncey 7, which I'll talk about later here. But now, importantly, let's look at Run the World, all right? Because, again, if we were to go back here And the way that the song is actually listed, right, is with Run the World and Girls in parentheses, all right? So we pull it up as Run the World first, and do notice the first thing that comes up is President Barack Obama of the United States. Wow! And then you also see Extraordinary Rendition. This got a huge applause. Notice here as well the reference to 213s. I didn't flag it the first time through, but since the English and simple values for Run the World are the same as Lip Sync Battle, I can pull this back up. And so all of this applies, and there's that double 13 again. And remember that number 26 coming out of there, 44, the kill number, the magic number, and that double 13, okay? Remember from Camptown Ladies when Chief Wiggum is using the exhumed head of Jebediah Springfield to sing that song, all right? And so, again, here's a nice image of that for you with the Reverend, the mayor, Dr. Julius Hibbert, again representing the Republican Party in all likelihood on this. And do remember I showed you Police Chief Wiggum also has that 666, 111 coding, alright? So all of this just immensely, immensely important to keep in mind. Now notice again here reference to praise and worship in the 5 of August. Now this is going to be the day after President Obama's 55th birthday. So again, the number 55, importance beyond what I'm going to try to convey to you today. So keep going here, right? Now, girls, which was in parentheses, you see the Jewish value, sacrifice, seals, and dead second. Now, that can be interpreted a lot of ways. Do remember, on top of the 29th of July here, October 2nd is another day that I've been putting a tremendous amount of focus on. But do see here, the English and simple value for girls is 7, just like the day of the year she's performing this on, as well as all of the other 7s. You also see white, horse, 15, again, the Devil Tarot card, as well as finish, comedy, and doves. Now you do see as well this reference here to Sam Hain. Now do know that October 31st, which is, right, Sam Hain is Halloween, that also happened to be Walter Cronkite's birthday, alright? So very interesting there. Do notice if you break down Cronkite's birthday, we do get that double 5. And again, the importance of that is that he was the one who told the nation that JFK was dead. Now, also immensely important about Halloween is it was the day that NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory was founded, right? Now, before it was NASA's, this is when it was just the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, all right? So, founded October 31st, 1936. But again, look through all of the information that I brought you about JPL, and this is going back to the Pez Theory videos, like all of this does, like I told you it very likely would. Okay, so now check this out. If we go back here and we look at the whole bit Run the World Girls, you see it is the same Jewish value as This Is the West, sir. Now remember, this is the first part of the quote that is in the top, right, whatever quotes of all time. From, this is like IMDb, but the one from Liberty Valance, of course, it is the 222 location on here. But I talked about this at length, so go watch that video. But notice it is the same as the setup for that quote there. And again, you see reference to the Illuminati created and controlled NASA operation. Remember, the 29th is their 58-year anniversary, all right? All of that on the right side of your screen, and I've been talking about for months. Now, look down below here. You do see reference to Rigging International, as well as President's Day pageant. Now, remember, Rigging International are the ones who put the Bay Bridge Troll in its location and made it, and all of that, and the things we discussed with that. And the President's Day pageant is what we discussed with Ralph. Again, the immensely important representation that he is in the President's Day pageant playing George Washington. Again, go watch these videos. But remember, when he's dying at the end of that episode, the 13 stars, the 13 stripes on here, again, that double 13, that 4 when we reduce it down, all right? It's really so very important, okay? But again, look at the references to the human extinction, the seal of the living God, the synagogue of Satan, and secret numeric proof, okay? Now, I want to point out here, since our key point is lip syncing, and there's a few ways to spell it, and I'm not going to get into that. I chose the one I did because of the way it is on the lip sync battle, as well as the way I've seen it come up a number of times with the closed captioning on. But take a look at this article from The Wire here, a writer named Kevin O'Keefe, giving us this abbreviated history of Beyonce lip syncing, alright? And so it's a really interesting article here, and I do want to point out, since one of the key components that we've been talking about is this idea of presidential inauguration. Again, something going all the way back to the Pez theory stuff, guys. You see here, I choose you. And do remember that in this President's Day pageant, that is absolutely the card that Ralph is burning in the fire there. Now, going back here, you see in that coding the inauguration of Barack Obama. Do notice the Jewish value. If you drop the silence there, you also have that nice 187 for you here. And you do see reference to the rise of evil. So we were then looking at the phrase, the inauguration of Barack Obama, because just like breaking down education is the basis, right, of law and order, we wanted to do the same thing here, okay? So do notice when you look at inauguration, you get these references to planet Saturn, again, just like in the beginning of this video, as well as the Aeon of Babylon and the beast, an image in honor of the beast, and then look down below here, the direct reference to Bay Bridge Troll. Now, inauguration is something that continues to come up here. You see it in Electoral College as well, and again, in this, you do see reference to Liber Alve Legis. Now, this is the book of the law. You see references here to forehead to be sealed, the wrath of God, the word abrahadabra. Remember all of the connections. I showed you that word has the same coding as ice cream and rose and all of these immensely secret concepts that we talk about. You also see spirit of death coming up in there, these references to Hotline Bling, this 777-foot condo building that is being built in Manhattan right now, 45 East 22nd Street, and just to bring it all the way around here, inauguration coming up in Osheaga Festival, remember, where Del Rey is playing on what is now officially slated as the 30th, but as I showed you in my previous videos, and as I'll reiterate here, is something that they did in fact change from the 29th, alright? So now, do notice here for Kevin O'Keefe, the writer of that article, on her lip syncing there, you see reference again to the Trinity, the devil, August 10th. Remember, this is the day that High by the Beach came out, and taking it one step further, 810 is the same as Ralph Wiggum, I Slay Remix, Thelemic Order, Bohemian Grove, and Black in the Sun, which is absolutely an allegory for assassination. Alright, this can even be seen in The Simpsons, Who Shot Mr. Burns, and I'm going to talk about this in a different one. But when he blackens the sun is when they finally have had enough, and they blacken Mr. Burns with the bullet. Now, do notice for Kevin O'Keefe, you do see these references to the Lord of Illusions, MK Ultra Suicides, and that English and simple value. It's the same as Zesties. It's the same as starlight. Now remember, this is chapter 90 from the Book of Lies, talking about the end, the trinity of Nuit, of Layla, and of Babylon. All right, and so very, very interesting. Again, all of these other points here, and Claude Wagner, the man who died on the 77-year anniversary of the Pilgrim Society. But do see here, New World, again, the reference to the founding of America, as well as Evil Curse, Keystone, secret areas, all of these immensely important things here. All right, so to keep going here, do remember Zesties not only in the old school, or the new school bit where Ralph clearly has the ice cream to the right eye here. Again, the decapitated founder on his head there, the fraudulent founder, all of the things we've talked about. And do remember the tower coming up. That is the year 2016, arguably. Remember, 16 is the tower card. Now, pulling this aside here, lip syncing, I want you to see hiding the truth, as well as global economy, talent for deception, and again, lip syncing, all of these things are talents for deception. It is orchestrating a massive deception to people who paid money to see something, and it's a brilliant performance in person to see that happen. Now I want you to see here that the English and simple values are the same as the misfits. Now do remember everything I talked about with this bullet cover, JFK obviously, the song We Are 138, all of that, but is also the same as Nestle Nescafe. Now remember, this was the commercial that played after the announcement from Cronkite there. Remember, Nestle Nescafe, NN, that's 5 when you reduce it, and the number of letters there is 13, just like the death card. Alright, so very interesting stuff. And notice here, no coincidence that there's also an ad for this Route 66 spelled out very plain for all of you there. Now I will talk more about instant coffee later, because that was the big point that I was making with that, because remember, IC is 9-3, just like ice cream, and how I talked about that connection to Thelema through that. Alright, so now keep going here though. Alright, you see seal on forehead, breaking news, and again, this coming during breaking news, you see Brotherhood wound up dead, because after this commercial we found out that Kennedy wound up dead. Okay, you also see these references to Independence Day, Anti-Savior, and Satanic Magus. Now this phrase right here is from the Myesha So Long video. Alright, and now you have to watch this same exact one that I have up here, this extended version explicit, because there are numerous versions of this video flying around. And so now this is the original one that came out and has all of these random bits of dialogue that are in there that are cut out of the other ones. But right at this point here, right at this point in the video, and I want you to see this right here, when you can see Robert Glasper's right eye only, she says, I hate lip sync. Alright, and so I want you to see the reference to Four of Cups here. Now I don't have time to read this for you today, but for those of you with Book of Thoth, it is page 197, and this talks about the idea of something that was once pure with good intention becoming corrupted and becoming completely destructive. Now notice here you see reference to Illuminati Freemason, repent of murder, as well as satanic genetic tampering, something that is on the limelight right now. And remember, with all of this dialogue going on about DNA modification and what they're saying is possible, this and that, remember, they are so far beyond that point. This is just a slow acclimatization of this and the ideas two people, and it's something that you just have to get. I mean, you have to accept how much farther they really are. So now notice English and simples for this here. They're the same as jazz and blues. Remember, from Salvatore, she's talking about like a boss you sang, jazz and blues. Alright, now you also see on the ground. These are Charles Dickens' last words, and remember, even in the context of this song, her lover is shot and ends up on the ground. Now that quote, "Let the man march," of course, from Lisa the Iconoclast, delivered by Chief Wiggum, like I say, with the 666 coding. But do see here, for that, you have false prophet, as well as the dark messiah. 21, remember, not only in reference to something like Agenda 21, but also this is the universe card. This is the completion of the great work. You see Age of Aquarius, Tribulation, Will of Thelema, the Egg of the Aeon. All of these things about being hidden. And do remember, from, I try to show you all of this as obvious as possible, but if you look at my page, Victory of the People is what I've always had on there. And I talk about hiding all of these things for you right in plain sight, trying to get you to see the importance. Alright, you just don't take it seriously, and so it has to go forward. You see here, Harbinger of Death, the Devourer, off with his head, forked tongue, and Great Sphinx. Again, I tried to warn you. Now notice here, when you break down lip sync, we can look at this as 12 and 19. 12 and 19 gives us 31. Again, this is Lana Del Rey's age. It's also the hidden number for the Book of the Law, obviously an inverted 13 for Death card, and if we invert and add that, we do get 44, so it's a very important number. I believe this is also the age of the man who was delivering ice cream during the attack in France recently during the Bastille celebrations. Okay, now, so see here, lip sync, right? Corrupt media, instruct, apostle sacrifices. You see executed, don't chicken out, deadly comet, and sinking of Atlantis. Now again, all of this being metaphorical. You see the English and simple values here, though. They're the same as Lizzie, Montreal. This is where Osheaga Festival is taking place. Same as Cootie Rock, same as Starline and Brown Bear. Okay, again, Starline appearing on the side of her honeymoon album here. And so, again, to hear that these are the old screenshots. You see, this was from July 13th. When I originally posted that video, she was playing in Montreal that day, as we'll talk about in just a minute. She happened to debut Salvatore that night live, and so again, they changed all of this so that no longer does it have the 3 dates listed for the Osheaga Festival, as you clearly see here. Again, notice this was July 17th that I took this. Starline also appearing on the Mars Attacks movie, of course. Cootie Rock is the one who directed the Erykah Badu window seat video where she's assassinated in Dealey Plaza. Remember Brown Bear from the ice cream truck episode we were just talking about, his right eye, all of those things, okay? Now, let's get back. Check this out. For the English and simples here in lip sync still, you see Angel of Death. Remember Elevator, Luciferian, Sunray, dualisms, and sunset, all of these important metaphors. Now again, you see that reference to Chosen One. Now, I hate lip syncing. I'm just going to show you very quickly here because this is how you might hear in the Myesha So Long video. At this point here, that's what you might hear her saying. You might hear the ing on the end. And since variance is such an important thing, I do want to show you this really quick. Because it does give us this very important number where we see the United Nations as well as a reference to the pentagram and hexagram, alright? And so if we actually add those together, we get what's called a hendecagram, alright? So now my pardons on butchering that, but notice that that is what the Statue of Liberty sits on, alright? Is an 11-pointed star. All right, and so I just think that that is so very fascinating. All right, and you can see the connections here to what has happened with rocket boosters in that formation, and just very, very fascinating to me. All right, to see how that comes up there now. Do notice here again, I hate lip syncing. Reference all out to the Pez theory. Elizabeth W. Grant, Roberto Glasper, again, these direct, huge references here to things we're talking about. There's your number 7, hit the bullseye, great architect, Order of the Rose. Just wait and see all of these critical things, all right? So now, take a look here. This is again from the Myesha So Long video. She says we got to be in stage in 5 minutes. So this is Glasper. Says it twice. You have the double 5. Says they have to be on stage in 3 minutes. Gives us a nice double 3. Again, looking into those individually. Master numbers, adding them to the 88. Arguably even more importance. Now, what I want to talk about here is Chauncey. Now, Chauncey is very interesting because it's who Glasper in the Myesha video is saying they don't want to upset. And so Chauncey has the same coding as Beyonce Lemonade, all right? But that 660, that 66, I mean, it's so important. And it did come up earlier in all of these things. And I do want you to see it is the same as I am a unitard. Since we were just talking about this brown bear in the ice cream episode and all of that, this is the same episode. And Ralph seals his forehead with the ice cream and says, I'm a unitard. A lot more, I'll talk about that later on in another video. But so notice here for Chauncey, you do have direct reference to the Eye of Ra. And what I want to point out here is that, remember, because I was talking about she always looks at the camera in this when she says that's what she said, and the reference there because it's I love you Ra, and she's pissed off about Chauncey at the beginning, but she's pissed off because it's almost like she's breaking from her programming in this video. That's the constructed piece there. It's not real, but what we're supposed to see there, what it's a metaphor for, because she's talking about this is a tragedy. I don't want anything to do with this. Why are we doing this? It's a disaster, right? And all of this getting ready to clean the surface here, all right? And you do see, for that's what she said, the masterpiece ion absolutely coming up in that, as well as Donald John Trump, the powers that be, and all of these massive concepts. Now, do see here Cauldron of Sacrifice, blood-filled streets, okay? The English and simple values are the same as Ciao Amore, all right? Again, from Salvatore. You see Exhumed. This is what they did to 12th President. And we've talked about Zachary Taylor. Centerpiece for Lisa the Iconoclast, again coming up, and that's what she said. You also see Eric Fogels is the man who created Celebrity Deathmatch, and Wiggum. Right, so now down below, Baphomet, the Beast, Beelzebub, Sun God, Baptism, Offering, NASA Lies, Tragedy, all of these things, if you're paying attention, it's crazy how many times I've had to reiterate this to you. Now you see, if you watch the video, they say Chauncey's name 7 times. Now in my last video, I was talking to you about the Chariot card, its connection to the word abrahadabra, and again, everything with ice cream in that. So now notice, and this is absolutely pertinent, if you type Chauncey the Chariot, you see it's the same as Inspired by Matt and Kim from the window seat video. The one directed by Cootie Rock where she's shot in the end in Dealey Plaza. And it's also the same as Shot in the Right Eye. Again, from this skit, from Ricky Smiley, one of his prank phone calls. Remember all those words, 5 letters. That 555 again and again. And Peter Anderson Sessions, the man who introduced House Resolution 642 to make magic a national treasure. Now look here, he shall destroy them. Remember, this what the Chariot has to do is this preparation for just that. Murder to JFK, the divine light, a high vibration, see violent. You know what's crazy is we've actually had violence come up here in the coding, so do notice it is the same as Lana Del Rey. Alright, so go ahead and suck on that for a minute. But this is airtight. Alright, I want you to see fire from above. Remember Leonardo da Vinci, who's mentioned numerous times in the House Resolution 642. And look at this, because you get the code 137. Now, that is the same as instant coffee, alright? If I can get that to pop up for you here. Now remember, the 9-3 from that, you see references to Eye of Horus, Great Pyramid, the Path of Death, I'm Creeping Death, Mind Control, and Church of Satan. Now remember I talked about this for quite a while in that original video, this idea of coffee and instant coffee and their satanic connections. Now I want you to see one other thing here really quickly though, because Wilkins coffee, now you're asking, Klaus, why are you using a Muppet wiki page for this? And the answer is because if you type Wilkins coffee in, this is the #1 resource that pops up for you, and everything else is just a weird mentioning of it. But so this very bizarre set of commercials, and you can see approached by a Washington D.C. Coffee company to produce for Wilkins coffee, okay? And so do notice with this here, it is 13 letters, Wilkins coffee, I believe, and the 5-3 from that. But notice, right, the guy he gets killed, this little friend here. Anytime he doesn't want Wilkins coffee, they shoot him. And so it's when you don't put up with this, when you deny them, they'll take your life. It's not a problem. They're creeping death. It's the path of death. I'm telling you, they don't want you watching my vid. That's why I've been taken down. Not for copyright. I've been arbitrarily taken down. Pay attention. This is where it gets thick. The English and simple values are the same as in the summer rain. This is another Salvatore lyric. It's the same as George Washington. The death of humankind. Write this down. Brotherhood of death. Concealed mystery. Alright, I want you to see that Chauncey 7, One Last Way, I want to look at that Chariot rendition, has the same Jewish value as New Orleans Police. Right, that 1378, it's literally just adding 8 adjustment to that instant coffee 137. You see, accidents will happen. The final rainbow bridge and the bringer of judgment. Alright, it is very, very stunning. And so again, you can look through this article here. This will come up in a minute with I'll talk about it in a minute, but there's our New Orleans Police for us, okay, from the formation video. Remember that 666, 111 value that it has, just like High by the Beach, and so many other things that we've been talking about here, alright? But so, going through here, I want you to also see this reference to August 10th, random selection. Now, again, that reference to High by the Beach release date, August 10th, 8/10. Right, we talked about it's the same as Ralph Wiggum, thelemic order, all of that, and accidents will happen, alright? So, something to bear in mind for that date as well. Now, look at the English and simple values for it. For Chauncey 7, 720, 120. It is the same as cellular device. Remember, the Hotline Bling cover. It's the same as Hic et Ubique. This is the motto for the Pilgrim Society here and everywhere. It's the same as Illuminati, the truth, and 4-4. You can look on this side over here now. Excuse me one sec. And see how that all lines up. Now, see here, this is also from the formation video. But since we see the truth and 4-4 and all of these things directly tied in here, there's the truth for you. But he doesn't see it. Alright, and you also see the more than a dreamer, all of that that's come up again and again here. There's that 4-4 written out for you. Now, one more, since amen is the word. Chauncey Amen. I want you to see conspiracy. Obama is the Antichrist. 3, 6, and 9. Again, something I've been talking about immensely here, with these references to Hermeticism, changing the paradigm, the coming soon. Okay, so you can see all of this desolation, triple one. All right, on and on and on. Now you also see these references to the most hidden secret, and I want you to see the English and simple value. It's the same as Salvatore, Eric Lee Hogue, and Miles Davis. Now remember, Eric Lee Hogue, this is this guy right here, who was the other big proponent for getting the magic bill going, as you see here with David Copperfield, mentioned 8 times in that bill. David Copperfield, Charles Dickens' 8th book. Notice here that, of course, Hogue was a clown at 15, the devil card, all of the things we've talked about, even that 120 strong there. For just popping right back here, that 120, that is the same simple value as all of the things we were just talking about, Illuminati, cellular device, on and on and on, you guys. You really are doing yourself a disservice by not paying more attention to this. Okay, so again, the Pilgrims logo and the actual Myesha So Long video at the end here does have this bit that says dedicated to the life and art of Miles Davis. Alright, and again, trumpet, universe, all of these things that we talk about, the sun god, the name of God, I run cons, the hand of fate. Now, since Salvatore comes up here, that is really, right, the perfect opportunity for me to get back here. And you know what, since this video is so long and this part here is so crucial, I'm going to go ahead and we'll stop it right here, and I'm going to do the second part as a part 2. Alright, so thank you so much for watching, and please, please be well.